Good afternoon, good evening. Hopefully this is behaving because I haven't done a YouTube stream for a bit. So I thought I'd go live on YouTube, and I don't think Cody's live this afternoon, so I thought I'd steal his space. But anyway, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are, whenever you are. I just thought I'd quickly catch up, and for a surprise, afternoon, you look. I actually have something that I'm like, I must get myself one of those. So I thought we might as well start with that. And it's everybody's must-have Wi-Fi 6E router for the new year. It's Kevin the Minion. You can now get a Kevin the Minion router. Someone find me one of these in the UK. I must get one. You can also get Bob. Evening, everybody. Afternoon. If someone can find me these in the UK, I will get them and have a look at them and review them, because I think that's just genius. I think that is utterly genius. You can now get a Minion router. I'm hoping they do actually exist. But that made me smile. Literally, I found that like 5 minutes before I started this stream. So supposedly they are Wi-Fi 6E. Quite how good a router it will be, I have no idea. But I would so love to get one of those, or the pair of them. I got so Kevin is Wi-Fi 6E, Bob is just Wi-Fi 6 and is a travel router. So yes. Task for those of you who are in the Discord. Find me that, where I can at least I may even have to look on AliExpress. Yeah. I know. I just think that is utterly genius. I thought that'd be a great start. So yes, I just thought again catch up with people on here, update people as to what's going on. Some of you do know, some of you don't. It's just been a bit busy. We've been doing other stuff. I've been live elsewhere. If you are on some of the other social medias, do look me up. I'm a bit more active on the TikTokies. I can buy it on Amazon, yes, but I can't see it on Amazon in the UK. I can buy it this is Amazon in the US. It didn't show up for me that quickly, but I may go. I've only just found this, so if someone can find me a link, I'll acquire them, and we'll see what Kevin's throughput is, because I have a laptop to test Wi-Fi 6E with, and I have a device, and yeah, we'll do some Minion internet testing. I think that could be utterly hilarious. So there we go. I thought that's quite a good start to the to the live. What was I going to cover? Let me pull up my things. Let's have a look. First things first. Second things first, I should say. If you are not following what Alta Labs have been up to, they've been again over elsewhere answering questions on what's going on with them. Questions, or basic questions, and the most common ones, obviously, when is their local controller coming for Alta Labs kit? They have quoted Q1, Q2 2024. Now I know there's a lot of people out there that were hoping that it would be sooner, but to be honest, I don't see it sooner, and I don't see it being a mass priority for them, because the actual target audience for things like Alta Labs and stuff, they seem to be installing quite well in a lot of sort of small residential and small business installs from what I've seen, and they're being taken up quite well, which is good. So that's going to be interesting to see where they settle in. The other one is they have a router due out at some point this year, which will be good because that means that you have basically the same as Ubiquiti. You can have a fully Alta Labs network, hopefully. We'll see where that goes, but hopefully that's a good sign for them. And for those of us as well in the business, because it starts to give us another viable alternative at a sensible price to Ubiquiti. So that's a quick update on those guys. Just something that I spotted as well while I was hunting around quickly because I wanted to pull up something. Get rid of that. If you have not seen this, TeamViewer is being used again to get into companies. So it's not that there's a fault with TeamViewer, there's a fault with people not setting their accounts up securely. So if you do use TeamViewer, do make sure that you are not only setting up multi-factor on your account, but that you are also, if you have the right license, whitelisting your devices as to what can be connected to where. So always worth having a look at that. But what I was looking for in here was there's a lot going on at the moment. There's been some VMware issues. There's been some Microsoft issues. There's been some Ivanti issues, which isn't a surprise. But the more important one, it's Temu advertising. Where is it gone? It was to do with Sonic Wall, basically. It was just reiterating what there we go. What has been said elsewhere as well. I really do need to get an ad blocker in Firefox. So I'm only using Firefox because it was easier. Be gone. Now this isn't, again, as I've said, as I've said elsewhere, this isn't directed solely at Sonic Wall. This is directed at anyone out there who has supplied, I suppose, higher sort of class, higher quality firewalls. So the Sophoses, the Sonic Walls, the Fortinets, that sort of thing, and up, and then just walked away from them. You need to be going back to the people you've supplied them to and telling them that they need to update. They need to get these devices up to date. And if they can't update them because they're out of contract, they need to renew the contract. If the device is now end of life, then they definitely need to replace it, especially if it's vulnerable to these sorts of things. So this is becoming very, very common in older firewalls now, because there is a lot of incentive for companies to basically drop old firewalls that they don't need. So that whole issue, sorry, I'm just going to quickly cheat and do that. There we go. That's better. Right. And clean. There we go. Yeah, there's a lot of devices out there that are vulnerable to issues. It, again, as I said, it's not just Sonic Wall. It's the normal things like that. Malwarebytes browser guard. Again, I don't use Malwarebytes. I've not really had a need to use it. Purely and simply because normally I have, well, on this machine, for example, I run Sophos and things like that. So I don't need too many things interacting. uBlock Origin I find works quite well. The other things on my list of things to quickly cover off today, I might as well skim over, well, not skim. Obviously, Ubiquiti have been busy since the start of the new year. We've had, obviously, the U7 Pro has launched. We've had the Swiss Army knife. We've had the Enterprise Access Hub, which if you go and look on Cody's channel, he's done a review on that one recently. So there's a lot of new things coming from Ubiquiti. Obviously, we are still waiting for the Dream Machine Pro Max. That's going to appear at some point. We know it exists. It's been seen in the wild in the software. One of the things that, again, we don't get over here, but they get over in the US, if it'll let me stay over there, is... Let's see if it will. It might automatically reassign me over to the EU, in which case... where's the PDU? PDU... I think have they renamed it, or is that another new product? No, that's the one, isn't it? Yeah. So yeah, the power PDU high density. I'm pretty sure they've renamed that. Someone tell me if that had a different name previously. But again, the problem with any of the Ubiquiti power kit, and I kind of want to have a whinge about Ubiquiti really, is that for anything power wise, it's always focused on the US. Everything is focused on the US. I was going to say there's the because they've got there's the PDU Pro. Maybe they accidentally called it the PDU Pro and then rebranded it to the high density. It's not high density. It's just a distribution for a 48U rack. I mean, high density would be as if it had 2 rows of power, which you can get for a 48U rack in the bigger system. Find that a bit odd. I'm pretty sure that didn't launch as that. But anyway, unmanaged. Let's see if I can find a better picture of it. So a managed power distribution unit, but again, we don't see it over here. We don't get the fun things like that, sadly. At least not yet. Maybe. Yeah. We get the power backup, which is an RPS, and switch mission critical, but even the smart plug has got the wrong connector and it's not available. We can, however, now get you can now get obviously the secondary power supply, the most pointless thing to put in your dream wall. So if you are thinking about getting that, don't. Utter waste of time. All it will do on your dream wall is just use a little bit more power and make it a bit noisier. But yeah, we don't get the fun things like that. What other new things have accidentally been let slip that I can be cheeky? But Network Chuck says, yes, I need it now. Yes. I'm surprised actually he's not on the Ubiquiti Dream Team of social media people. He might be. I don't watch his content, so I don't know. But yeah, there is this thing that seems to be with anything to do with power that only the US exists. But hey ho. Oh, there's new merch. So my Ubiquiti hat is now out of date. I'll have to get a new one. What else has come recently? We haven't got anything new in there. The Wi-Fi wise, as and when I get hold of a Swiss Army knife, I have a test to perform that I will go and do and test and report back on, and quite happily, it's basically it's to do a comparison external outdoors between all these three. So that's the plan at some point. I've got plenty of AC meshes. I've got plenty of U6 meshes. I just don't have a Swiss Army knife Ultra to hand, so to speak. I will see about getting one ordered on the next Ubiquiti order we put in, which will probably be next week. And therefore we can do some testing because, as I've said elsewhere, the Swiss Army Knife Ultra, I just see it as an AC Mesh V2, especially with its optional antennas. I mean, to me, that there, the actual antenna array, looks to be a set of them. It just looks to be an AC mesh antenna array. So maybe they'll be a bit bigger. Maybe they'll actually be made out of UV resistant plastic, so they'll last more than 4 years outdoors. Hint, hint, Ubiquity, if you have anyone watching this. Because at the moment, all the AC meshes that have been out in the sun for at least 4 years, the top of the antennas has cracked, some of them to the point where it's actually just a hole in the top of the antenna. So, if you have got them outside, go and check them. Yes, the Unify, I'm in the United States store, so we got stock of... So Unify Express is in stock. Again, I can understand it for a small home install. I wouldn't be putting that in a business. It's just too limited. If you want something entry level for a business, I would be looking at the Dream Router, because at least a Dream Router can cope with more than 4 other devices, and has DPI and threat management in it, which is something. Something that I feel Ubiquity should have done with the Unify Express is allowed you to turn the threat management on with the understanding that it will impact throughput. It can obviously do it because the hardware, I believe, is pretty much identical to the Gateway Lite. Now, as a putting my business hat on here, it's one of those options that if we do anything where we do any managed residential internet, generally we would put a Dream Router in, but it may be we do look at the Unify Express for certain residential sites, purely and simply because, yes, it will do a very simple install and it makes it easy to maintain it remotely. But at the same time, the Dream Router is more flexible. What we could do with, hopefully maybe this year, is we will get a Dream Router SE, maybe a Dream Router, probably a Dream Router Max or something silly like that. Someone who's good at web programming, you could very easily come up with a couple of spinny wheels or a random name generator to generate Ubiquity's new naming structure. Yes, a 3-pack would be a good idea. Again, hopefully maybe someone from Ubiquity, do a 3-pack of the Unify Expresses. Maybe a 3-pack, maybe even a 4-pack, because that's technically means you can just bolt one extra thing on it. It gives you room for one bit of expansion. The other thing that maybe, and I'll say this, would be a consideration for a Unify Express install. And again, this may come along with the... Oh, we've got offers in. That's interesting. I'll come back to that in a second. Because obviously we know that the Ultra range is now going to be appearing in various guises. The... where is it? Is it in here or is it's on the main page, I think? Let's go to the main Ubiquity page. So if we go and find the Ultra page, no, AP's Wi-Fi. It's not flagship. Don't want Unify 7. Can anyone see? Where's the Ultra range gone? They're not really advertising it, are they? Flexible and outdoor. Swiss Army knife. Now, if it shows it, obviously we can see that. I would not be surprised to see at some point from the Ultra range a small NVR. Now, maybe we will see a version of the Unify Express or the Unify Express size hardware with some sort of internal storage, possibly the same looking as they've reused that profile twice already, having it as a small NVR for the upcoming Ultra Unify Protect cameras. I was just seeing if I could find the image of it. No, must be in the video. But there is, obviously, we know we're going to get a new PTZ. We know we're going to get a turret. Potentially there's another new camera coming out as well. So we're going to get an entry level product range, and it would kind of make sense that there's somewhere to record them to. So I'm going to go out on a limb, expect to see, and especially, and I'll go back to it, especially as there's now special offers on the network video recorder and the video recorder Pro, expect to see a new video recorder console or Unified Protect recorder line. So maybe we'll see like an NVR Ultra, which will be a compact one. Don't know. Again, I'm not privy to the what's coming stuff. Some of the regular Ubiquiti revealers may know more, but they won't be allowed to tell you. Luckily, I can make educated guesses. But yes, I would expect to see something along those lines. On the flip reversal, if you are interested in the Protect sensor, you will need to make sure that you are using Unify 6 APs, not 6 Plus, and not 7 at the moment. Ubiquiti have dropped Bluetooth Low Energy out of the newer access points. So if it's not a 6 Pro, 6 LR, 6 Lite, or 6E, so 6 Enterprise AP, the chances are it won't have Bluetooth Low Energy on the management console, which means it can't see the Protect sensors. I raised this very, very verbally with Ubiquiti on social media, and they kind of dismissed it. And a lot of others have as well. And I thought that was quite bad of them. I think that's not an ideal situation. The other one is going back to Wi-Fi. The U7 Pro, I don't know why they called it the Pro, because it doesn't line up with what the Pro range has always been. I would be classing that more as a U7 LR. Maybe they need a new, slightly lower, just a U7 standard, something like that, maybe. Don't know. But there's no real definitive guide from Ubiquiti as to what their naming structure is now. The switching is all over the place. The switching naming structure is an utter mess. Usually it was Standard, Pro, Enterprise. Now we have Standard, Pro, Enterprise, Pro Max. But there's no definition of what fits where, because they will launch a Pro Max after an Enterprise. It does more things than the Enterprise does, but isn't an Enterprise product. So maybe they should look at going back to as they previously had it, where you have Gen 1, Gen 2, so Pro, so Standard Gen 1, Standard Gen 2, Pro Gen 1, Pro Gen 2, Pro Gen 3 maybe, and then on to Enterprise. So Enterprise Gen 1, Enterprise Gen 2. So you at least know that it's a newer product, and you can align which generation it is and where it is. Because if you're trying to work things out when someone says they have this switch, it doesn't make any sense. So, and hopefully they won't mess around with the flex naming structure, because again, that's quite useful. So yeah, we go down here. We've got the Gen 1 switching, which is easy. It's the first generation Ubiquiti Unify switching. Fine. I don't quite know where the mission critical fits in. It's not a switch I would recommend. Yeah. My opinion on the Pro Max still stands. I think they should have made this as a Pro Switch with normal ports. And then, yeah, if you want to keep the Pro Max with ether lighting, fine. But I would not be a fan of using that Switch in 3 years' time when, if someone's left some of the LEDs on that they've faded or burnt out. Blue LEDs and green LEDs, well, blue LEDs specifically, have a very bad habit of failing long term because they take the most power to drive. So, yeah, not a fan of that line. But it's a shame, really, because the actual Switch specifications are perfect for a business that wants to prep ready for the future, but doesn't need to spend on a full 2.5 gig Switch or a full 10 gig Switch, but wants PoE. It's one of those close, but why would I want to be putting a Switch into a room potentially that's got a cabinet, maybe a cabinet with a glass door on it in an office, with it going full disco mode? I don't want that. I want simple connected PoE on lights like we've had, because that works in business and in industry. So yeah, maybe we'll see a Gen 3 Pro non-Max with it. Hopefully we will. That would be nice. Hint, hint, Ubiquity. But there we go. That I'm going to stop waffling on about, because otherwise we'll never get anywhere. Something just to switch more back onto the business side of things. Yeah, because it's all bling, yeah. I have been keeping an eye on it. Again, one of the questions I've been asked a lot recently. I've been asked 2 questions. We'll get onto both of them. Oh yes, not paying for the patch. Yeah, £4 a patch cable. Yeah, no, thank you. Obviously, with Broadcom acquiring VMware, there's a lot of hand-wringing and panicking and sensationalist headlines. Now, yeah, RGB makes everything faster. So there's been some sensationalist headlines. There appears to be a lot going on behind the scenes with Broadcom acquiring VMware, and if you're in the industry, you've probably seen a lot of reports of it. One thing I have been trying to keep up on is like what's going on actually, and reading between the lines and some other people's reporting. Yes, there's a lot going on. Yes, there's a lot of chaos. Yes, there's been a lot of layoffs, which is unfortunate. Now, the big thing is that, yes, there's price rises, but a lot of it seems to be people jumping the gun and trying to justify, to a certain degree, why you shouldn't stick with VMware. Now, there are some other unconfirmed reports, and I'll say that, unconfirmed, that the free version of ESXi is going away, and I can only find evidence of that from one Reddit post at the moment, with someone putting 2 and 2 together and maybe making 4, maybe making 5. Until we get a statement from VMware, which I haven't found yet, maybe it will come out. It looks like the free version of ESXi will still exist for the moment, but we shall see. I think VMware would be silly to get rid of that because it's a very useful tool. The other side of it is, it seems that Broadcom are now reaching out to companies to become partners again. So as part of the merger, they cancelled the partner program and have, I think, reached out. They're probably reaching out to the bigger partners, first of all, to re-establish the new partner program, obviously with the new licensing structure and things like that. I don't deal a lot with VMware sites at the moment, but we shall see where that goes. And if anything jumps out at me, I will try and keep you guys informed via one platform or another. The interesting part of it is that there's a lot of FUD being spread around. There's a lot of people proclaiming that they're going to be moving and that there's better platforms and things like that. But at the same time, that's before they've even some of them have got years left on their licensing. Some of them are there's a lot of noise. It's the normal thing of jumping on the bandwagon to make a statement. My advice is go and investigate. Go and wait for the actual statements to come out from VMware, because it seems that whilst, yes, there's a lot of upheaval, the price increases seem to be less than people are saying once they've actually got them done properly. There are some changes to the platform and to the products available. Some of it, I think, is actually for the better. Some of it won't be. So we'll see what becomes of that. The other obviously big one is that HPE bought Juniper. So that's kind of gone a bit quiet from the news front. The only big thing recently that has come to light is HPE are, or would apparently be, looking at getting rid of the Aruba branding, which would kind of go in line with them basically going through and saying, yes, saying that what they're going to probably do is consolidate all the brands they own to basically become HPE switching or HPE something. So expect at some point that, yes, the Aruba brand will disappear, maybe even the Juniper brand will disappear, and they will become a product range at HPE. Obviously the downside of that being that once everything is HPE, the chances are that you won't be able to do anything with the hardware anymore, because they'll probably shift everything over to if you don't pay, you don't play model. So we'll see what becomes of that. Yeah, if I had the money spare, I'd pull one in, but I don't have the problem is I don't have a use case for one at the moment that makes sense. So as and when I do, I will I'll do my standard 60-second review of it, because if you want an in-depth review, there's plenty of reviews from when the product was launched. It's one of those things. If Ubiquiti are going to limit who they launch their products with, and make it so that you get 4 or 8 or 20 reviews all launching at the same time, I feel that actually does the content creators that use it out of it does them out of viewers, unfortunately. So their chosen content creators are competing against each other for views, because if you watch one person's review, chances are you're probably not going to watch someone else's. And obviously the bigger platforms get the most views and get the most promotion. I do find that a bit sad, really. They could do with maybe asking the content creators to space some things out, but we'll see. Again, it's difficult. Obviously the big thing is always to be the first to review a product. Maybe they move it around and let one person review one product and one person review another, that sort of thing, just to actually even things out a bit rather than the mad rush. Yeah, again, I watch as many as I can, because I do appreciate hearing different viewpoints on them. The problem is, having spoken to a couple of them, they know that when they launch, that when they do a video like that, it will take them a lot longer to get the views on that. And again, if you're competing against a bigger channel, that channel will get the promotion over yours in the YouTube algorithm. So if someone wanted to watch a review that might not be a subscriber, the chances are that they would get shown the review from a bigger channel first. So, yeah. Again, the other thing as well is because obviously these are product reviews that are technically sponsored. Yes, there will always be a positive spin. There will be a lack of, to a certain degree, it won't be the this is what I like, this is what I don't like. It will be the this is what it can do. So you have to take that as it comes. It's not a lot they can do about that. That's part of the contract, effectively, you have to sign if you want to be a content creator specifically for a manufacturer. It's not unique to Ubiquity. They all do it. It's kind of why it's always worth having some of the other creators on that don't do sponsored content as much and are quite happy to review things without the without the hot poker behind them telling them that they're wrong when they're not. So, yes. The only other thing on my list, and the final thing, I have been talking with one of the other content creators over here in the UK, and we are going to hopefully, potentially, try and create a UK focused either a video podcast or a live session with a couple of UK or maybe European, and maybe again we'll probably pull in one or two people from over on the other side of the pond over time. We'll see how it goes, but maybe a video podcast, maybe a live. Something that I'm trying to have a think about and a work out on about how we're going to do it, who, what, where, when, and why. It's an idea. We think it might have some legs, but it's going to be a bit of a not long-winded process. I'm speaking to someone who I think actually would be better at hosting it, and it won't be as such on my channel. It will be on their channel. And the idea being that actually it's to get a bit more of a industry and businessy view from the IT world, as it were, over here, where people feel things are going, what's going on in the industry, maybe some news, some sort of not reviews, but that sort of thing. So that's something that we are looking at, just to see where it goes, or to see what we can do with it. So I will update as I know more. But other than that, I think he says that should be okay. I don't actually have anything new that I can think of that I've really looked at, other than the fact that hopefully in the next week or so there will be some entertaining news in my Discord. So if you are following, please feel free to go and join the Discord. The links should be in the description. If not, they'll be in my bio, or my beacon link, which is in most of my videos now. So yeah. What do I think of the new Draytech design? Pardon? I beg your pardon? I must look. They've definitely redesigned the webpage. 2766AX. Oh, hold on. Is this a new design or is this not a new design? Uh, 2766AX. They are reusing one of their access point plastic works. Or do you mean that one? So there's a 2766. 2766AX. Have they got the wrong image? Something looks wrong there. It's not working well. I mean, it looks like a standard Draytech for there. That's fine. Okay. So we've got a wireless LAN WPS button when nobody should be using WPS anymore. LAN WAN switchable, fixed LAN, gigabit. Yeah. Interesting. I mean, it's G-Fast VDSL and gigabit fiber, so we've got one switchable port. So it's a multi-WAN-ish router. Draytech have suffered from being a victim of their own product. The problem with the Draytech is they just don't die. If you buy a 2800 series, generally they just stay running, which means nobody buys another one. So, yes, I'm waiting to see, as there is supposed to be a new 39 series. I don't know if they've launched it yet. There's supposed to be a replacement for the 3910 due out soon. And there's also supposed to be a 5G device at some point. Don't know if they class it as a wireless modem. No, somewhere they were supposed to be doing a. They haven't said it, done it yet. No worries. Yeah, they were supposed to be doing a 5G modem, effectively a baby router. So this is going to be an interesting one. For those of you in the UK, in March, there is an expo one up at the XL again. So Draytech normally attend. So it would be interesting to attend and speak to them, because if they haven't launched it since the last one, they need to catch up with that. Probably could do with dropping them an email at some point and just asking what's going on with things. But yes, I'm pretty sure, is that them? Are they reusing the plastic work for one of their bigger APs for that? Like that one? No. Or have they've actually gone out and spent some money and made some new plastic work, which is quite a shock for a Draytech. Maybe they have. Just having a quick look. No, I'm not seeing a product that looks like it. So maybe they finally, after almost 20 years, there it is. There, 2135AX. New form factor. So there it is. So there's a 2135 as well. The biggest problem they've now got, and I'll say this, is they've just launched an AX router. The world's moving to BE. So they've launched a Wi-Fi 6 router when everybody else is moving up to 6E and 7. So, yeah. that's some of their problem as well. You can't sell a Wi-Fi 6 router when Wi-Fi 7 is now the buzzword. And it's kind of been the industry buzzword for a while in terms of wireless. Um, yeah, I think you need to pull your socks up a bit, Draytech. The world is moving faster than you. You need to keep up. I haven't seen anything. Say I haven't kept an eye on the Draytech stuff, so that's a new one to me. But yeah, I think I mean, as much as I do like a Draytech, they are a good solid. If you just need a router that you can throw into somewhere and it will work, I think they are. They have a good solid following. I know that, but the problem is at the same time they don't do anything that others don't do better. So yeah, telling that to my local computer shop. Oh, are they rocking like 802.11n? Still, um, it would be nice with Draytech. Actually, it would be nice if they gave you ACS as a hosted license for free. I think that would push a lot. That would actually allow a lot of people to move to Draytech that currently are using other manufacturers. Yeah, the APs are a letdown, but as someone who was using, I mean, I can remember the predecessor to that, the AP800s, and the AP800s were great for 2 years, and then they just did silly things. Something went wrong with them, and you could never work out what. But the nice thing on those is at the time, and bear in mind this is going back over 10 years, it was a really easy way to get network segregation because you could map SSIDs to different parts of the port, which not a lot else did it back then for the same price. And that was the key part. Price-wise, they were very, very effective. Sadly, the world caught up with them. Unify came along and has effectively set the standard for entry level and up wireless networks. So yeah, that's the one. I've told them they need to ditch 10100 switches already, but they have them because people ask for a basic switch. No, people don't ask for a basic switch. People ask for a network switch, and what they do is they sell them a switch that they can make the most markup on. Is this a local computer shop that by chance maybe has a lot of Norton branding on it? Not a lot else going on there. Ah, greetings. Welcome, Alex. You haven't missed much. I need to catch up with you at some point. Managed to get my hands on a new UXG Lite. Great Wii device. Yes. Where's mine? There it is. Mine's back in its box at the moment. Again, this one will probably going out to a customer's site because I have a use case for it for them. These, I mean, as I was saying to people earlier, I have a suspicion that we will see this form factor used for something else. I would not be surprised if we see a Unify Protect system based on this form factor. So I'm throwing some darts at a wall with I think we will see this. I think we will see that from them. Um, Going on what they're producing at the moment and going on where the direction of Ubiquiti is heading, I would expect to see the Ultra range produce some very interesting bits of kit. I would also expect to see it produce a lot of commentary from people who still don't understand the whole point of the Ultra range, and the fact that it isn't actually targeted at like Europe or North America and things like that. Yeah, I get the feeling that unfortunately their marketing team is, on one hand, they've brought in someone who really knows their market or audience, because you've only got to look at the videos that they've been producing recently to see that they're playing the. I'm trying to think. The other companies have done this. They're playing the old-fashioned and antiquated way of doing things with the new and modern, and where you have to actually sit is somewhere in the middle. Oh yeah, they've everything from Ubiquiti has been Apple-like for a very long time, but that's because I think what they want is to have the premium feel. So that if you're a home user and you buy something from Ubiquiti, you open it and it's an unboxing experience because you think you're buying something that is premium. You're buying a device that does a lot of things and is a professional networking device. And you're not wrong to a certain degree. Yes, they do have an Apple background. The company, the founders are ex-Apple. They were basically the guys that built or used to run the airport lines. Yeah. Yeah, that's the problem though. They've got to the point where the basics are all done. What can they do that will make people talk about them, generate traffic, generate chatter, generate noise? What can they do that makes people want to buy the product because it's different? Again, it's that sort of thing. It's a really good business solution, but at the same time, it's a frustrating company to have to deal with as a business. We like the products, we really do, but there are just silly little things that they do that cause you to think, why? What's the need for that? And that's the thing. So it's always that balance, and at the same time, that's what's upsetting a lot of the people who come down from the more expensive networking equipment, where when you unbox a switch, you expect to pull a switch out with some polystyrene and have a packet of screws so that you can quickly assemble it, get it mounted, and then the next part is where you do all the work. You don't want the unboxing experience because you don't need it. That just takes longer. So it's that balance that they kind of get right. I mean, in the future, maybe, just maybe, we might see them go, right, here's our general product range, and maybe they'll look at doing almost like an OEM or a trying to think of the word, an installer's product range, so that you cut down on half the packaging. I mean, so unboxing the UXG, you could probably get rid of 30% of the packaging. I mean, all I want is that and its power supply. I don't need half the box. Yeah, the little packets that come with all the screws and everything. Exactly that. It's the wow. This feels almost like Meraki. If I wanted it to feel like Meraki, I would pay for Meraki. What I want it to be is like the older Ubiquiti stuff was, where you got a little pack of screws, you got the device, you unboxed it, done, done, done. Kind of like the 5 packs. Got one somewhere. Yeah. So, like those. This is like an installer's box. So it's a simple box. There's 5 AC meshes, all the antennas, a thing full of screws, and that's it. Yeah, it's simple. I go onto site. This has still got 2 left in it, so hence why I've still got the box. But you can turn up to site. So if I want a 5 pack of Unify Express gateways, they should be able to offer me that in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 power supply, power supply, power supply, power supply, power supply, and here's some mounting plates maybe. So that would be an awesome solution. Those sorts of things, to be able to bulk buy the equipment for those of us who go all over the place, just installing it, setting it up, configuring it. And it would also probably look better from a Ubiquiti side because the packaging costs would go down. It's nice to have. I've got one to hand. There you go. Yeah. So it's nice to have the nice, neat, laid out everything. Obviously, everything on a nice, pretty, laid out thing, which is great. I use 8 screws out of that entire pack. Those of you who don't use rack studs, go and use rack studs, because you just don't use cage nuts or the feet. And I know you have to give it the yeah, I know you have to give people the option, but you should have the option that says, I just want all of that in a bag, please. In a tiny little bag that's like that big. Done. And let me order 10 of them at the time, type thing. So yeah, it's good, and the whole point is to make people feel like they've bought a premium product. I would almost go as far to say is actually the unboxing experience of a Ubiquiti device now is better than the unboxing experience of an Apple product, because there's more to unbox. The last Mac Pro, the I did an M2, I want to say M2 Ultra, M2 Pro, was a nice unboxing experience, but it was quite literally tear, lift, and that was it. There was nothing else to do. I don't think they need to release their version of a rack stud. It'd be interesting if they did team up with, or in fact, if someone got in touch with rack studs and said, maybe you should consider doing silver thumb screws on them, because that would really please the Ubiquiti people. That would really please the Unify. Yeah, you could do nice silver ones on the end, to tie to so that your rack was all silver. So potentially that might be something if someone from Rack Studs looks at doing the Unify edition of Rack Studs. Yeah, but it's always that balance between whether something is a home device, whether something is a business device. Now, when it fits multiple roles, which Ubiquiti does, they have to cut the balance, and they will always lean towards the home presentation because that's what sells to them. That means that they're able to actually expand that market to a wider audience, to an audience that might think it's too technical for me. I want something simple and go and buy a TP link. So yes, these are what I'm waiting for. I am pretty sure that they're them. I am pretty sure it's going to be the AC mesh antennas, maybe a little bit longer, but we shall see. Is the basics on that one. I will get hold of one. I've got an idea, and again, I have an install to do over on a campsite that I can test a 6 mesh, an AC mesh, and a UK Ultra in a real world situation and see how it performs. But at the same time, I don't see massive uptake for it in like home installs, things like that. It's almost like they need to start dropping products out of the range. Unfortunately, I think the range is now too big. There's too many options that do the same thing. I mean, the only thing I will wait and see is what they're going to do with the U7 range. Because until we get maybe a U7 Lite, maybe a U7 Enterprise, something like that, we won't know what their target audience is. The only thing I haven't actually looked at is the U7 Pro RGB? No. Yeah, we talked the ether lighting. I don't like it. In that I don't like it for business. I like that they have it as an option, but I wish they would release the hardware without it and then make it a so I wish they'd do a pro version of that switch without the ether lighting. So if we had a Pro Gen 2 or a Pro Gen 3 and then maybe a Pro Gen 3 Max, and the Max just says it's got ether lighting. I think that's what would be nice, because the way I look at it, and again, I will always kind of err on the business side rather than the home lab side. There's way too many people on here that cover the home lab side. I'm trying to cover it from what I would think of more of a business thing. Is if I put an RGB switch into an office that had to sit in a cabinet in the corner, and I said to someone, go and look at it and tell me which pink light is flashing, they would laugh at me. So I think they need to, and as I've said to them on Twitter, actually, I've said, I think they need to clarify their product ranges. I think that's the key part. I think they need to go away and finally come up with a categorical clarification of this is what a Pro switch is, this is what a Pro Max switch is, this is what an Enterprise switch is. And it doesn't have to define as such the exact port counts and things like that. Yeah, it is. But at the same time, if you've got a switch that the only way it can indicate that stuff's going on is to have the whole port lit, you're going to have a switch that is in the corner in a rack, maybe in an office, that everyone's going to be complaining about because it's dancing or there's a disco going on in the server cabinet type thing. True. They would just this is it. Also, again, yes, the noise. Hence the Gen 2 switching. The Gen 2 switching is there to be fanless. And that's why it doesn't, again, when it first launched, trying to explain to people that the whole point of the Gen 2 switching is where Ubiquiti have gone away. They've analyzed, because they've been having telemetry coming back from systems for a few years now. They've gone away. They've analyzed what people use. They go away. They analyze what usage of PoE there was on switches, and what actual uptake there was, which is why people were a bit like, well, why has it only got like Why's the 24 port only got 16 PoE ports? Because I expect 90% of the 24 port PoE switches had less than 16 PoE ports in use. And they worked out that actually they could service that, and most of them probably didn't have more than 100 watts of PoE in them, or not even that. So they worked out a good, happy medium where they could get rid of the complaint of the switches are noisy, but service 90% of the people that had a requirement for a 24 port PoE switch. And then above that, you go up to the Pro, where you have to cool it and you have to have fans, which, again, most of those will end up in a server cabinet or things like that, out of the way. And going back to the days of people who used to sit and watch defrag happening, yes, and wiggle the mouse to keep it working. Must do that. Yes, it would be nice to have, I say, a few more options. It would be nice to have as I say, a clarification. It would be nice to have verticals where things sat, so you knew if you were getting a Pro AP that it was a 3x3, a 4x4, that it should, like as the AC Pros had, where it had a pass-through port. The 6 Pro dropped that, which was a shame because it was actually quite a useful feature. So you actually standardized, so you knew if you bought a Pro, AC Pro, 6 Pro, 7 Pro, it was a standard set of things. It came with 2 network ports. Didn't have to necessarily be 2.5 gig, or you'd start with a gig, 2.5 gig, up in the 7, that sort of thing. Standard Pro and Enterprise, or sorry, it should be, it's technically it's Flex, Standard, Pro, Enterprise, and then what you'd have off of them is, so off of the Pro you have Pro Max and you have aggregation, and then Enterprise you would maybe have Enterprise Max, so that you could have the option to have ether lighting on your Enterprise switch if you thought it would be a useful thing. So it would, that way you keep up with what's needed. The mission critical, I still, as I've said earlier, I still feel it's not a switch I would want in my rack. Purely and simply because, unfortunately, I would not want a switch with a lithium battery in a rack at the moment, going on the history of Ubiquiti and the Cloud Key Gen 2 lithium battery issue. You've got one of the, so you've got a Gen 1, 24 250 watt. I mean, up here in the loft, I have got a Gen 1 non-PoE. I have got a Gen 2 PoE. I've got a Gen 2, technically, 48 Pro, and I've got a Gen 2 48 PoE non-Pro. Yeah, but they're all drowned out by the sound of server fans, so I'm not too worried. Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. If you have something that has a requirement to stay on with PoE, you'd put a UPS on it. You wouldn't just have a switch. You would have a UPS, and that UPS maybe would be in the rack, maybe would be outside the rack in case there was a problem with it or it needed to be serviced, because the chances are that the UPS will need to be serviced before the switch does. But also it's from a manufacturer that produces UPSs. So whether you go with Eaton, Triplite, APC, you go with a manufacturer that you know will have tested the battery side of that thing to literal destruction before they launch that product. Yeah, the 16 port, I think, kind of makes sense, but it was a bit of a slip up. If they should have given it more power. I've got a 16 port Gen 2 PoE downstairs in my little rack. I've got it gets confusing. I have two racks up here, and I've got a rack down in the office, and it powers everything I need it to power down there. Fine, it's powering an AP, a 6 Pro AP, a couple of cameras, and a floodlight, a unified floodlight. But that's at probably about 30 watts flat out now, so it's towards the upper limit of what it can power. Yeah, you'll probably be running out of wattage. But again, it's also it's the same wattage. In fact, it's lower wattage than the 8 port switch. That it made no sense to a certain degree. Now, whether they were looking again, they looked at the stats, and it was that most people didn't use 16 port PoE switches for much or much power. But it just is at that point where it could do with having a little bit more oomph. Again, I would expect at some point we will see a revision of the switches. Maybe they'll double down and ether lighting will be maybe we'll get just switch maxes, that sort of things. The telling point will be when the Dream Machine Pro Max appears, because if that doesn't have ether lighting, then the Max nomenclature will make no sense at all. I mean that's the thing. So we will have to wait and see when that appears. And anything else that kind of sneaks by. I mean, we're online at the moment. I think we've had basically a new product every 2 to 3 weeks. So we'll see. I mean, I'm still hoping that they come out with the Dreamwall Pro, and actually listen to maybe that's why they've gone away with the Dream. They've stopped, or they've made the Dreamwall Pro vanish, because they've gone away and actually thought about it and realized that what people wanted is the Dreamwall with a hard disk or two in it, and they'll go away and relaunch that. The Dreamwall Max. I don't quite know how you would do ether lighting on a Dreamwall. That might be entertaining. Sorry, you can't see it. You've got to take the cover off to view the RGB. But yeah, I don't know what's going to go on with that as a product. I like my Dreamwall. I know people out there have reservations over it, but as a product, it's okay. It could have been so much better with a few simple changes. That's the big issue with it. If they had literally not bothered with this silly idea of 2 power supplies in it, and turned one of these into a hard disk bay or a dual hard disk tray or something like that, that would have been so much better. It makes sense for a residential or a modern small business office. If you've got an environment where, and again, we've got an environment where we'll be putting one in, because they've got a cabinet at the moment. They've got a very small 6U rack that sits bang in the middle of their office, because there aren't any rooms. It's fully open plan. There's nowhere for a rack to go. It's hidden under some stairs at the moment, but even then it's still visible and it still looks awful compared to the rest of the office. Whereas this can go on view, but it'll just blend in nicely with the office. So I know, again, there's people that have had reservations over it because of, stuff can get in the top. Mine's been on the wall for coming up 2 years at some point. Nothing's fallen in the top. No dirt, no dust. The ports are all absolutely clean because it's had the lid on. It can obviously run all the aspects of a Ubiquiti Unify system. So you can run CCTV, so Protect on it. You can run Connect on it. You can run Talk on it. You can run networking on it. So it's got all that functionality of a Dreamwall or Dreamwall Pro and Dreamwall SE. It just lacked out on the ability to have more storage. I've obviously I replaced the SD card in mine. It lasted a year. I've put a Western Digital Purple Endurance SD card in. We'll see how long that one lasts. So, but other than that, it's got enough power capability because you've got your PoEs, your PoE pluses, your PoE plus plus, that you can use it. So if you wanted more network ports, you could quite literally put a flex. I mean, you could put a flex next to it, just a little flex switch. You could put a flex switch in a flex utility box, and it would still look neat and tidy, and it would still be a very similar aesthetic. Have we got a picture of it? No, we haven't. Let's have a look. Switching. I mean, the yeah, the flex utility, you can mount that indoors, and it would keep it neat and tidy and out the way. Or a light switch, not a light switch. And you would get, again, you could power it via PoE, so you could quite simply plug a couple of flex switches into the PoE plus ports or the PoE plus plus ports if you needed to, and run stuff off of them like that. Yes, a light switch, LITE. So, and they do just mount up on the wall. They are very neat and effective, and you can hide them out the way. The Flex Minis are great little switches, purely and simply because you just power them via PoE or via USB. So there is a really good, simple use case. Yeah, but the problem is you present that use case to a lot of stuck in their way techs, and they don't like it because that's not how they've done things in the past. A lot of it is, this is how we've always done it. Why change? It works. And it's like, it works for you. Maybe it doesn't work for the client. So it's that, yeah, it's that way of sort of thinking. Where is my Flex XGs over there at the moment? I don't know why they've put the industrial in here. I don't know why that switch kind of, I think, needs to be retired. Nowadays, it's not really, it's expensive for what it is. But the Flex Minis are good little switches. That's what's on my desk downstairs as my little plug in, plug out switch. The Flexes I've got a Flex switch out in my boiler room that's running a couple of cameras. The mini rack. Where is the rack? Can't see it in there because it's not showing it. You're gonna give me no. Can't click it. I can't click it. I gotta go to the store. Hold on. Accessories. Accessorize everything. Rack mounts. The toolless, the tollus. For me, it wouldn't work because most of the stuff I need to rack mount is too deep. For that price, obviously in dollars, I can get a 12U StarTAC, which while is not so much a mini rack, it's bigger. Again, the issue I have with this is it's great for a home person. So if you've got something where you want it to sit under your desk, great. But for like up here in the loft, I already have two 12U StarTAC racks and I need a third. So when you consider that, when you think about that from a what are we going to use or what are we going to supply? That's not what I'd supply. Not only that, it's very, very open. So yeah, for home, fine. For business, no. Not wouldn't be my picking. I'd rather have a rack that's got sides and a front on it, because it stops a lot of the dirt and dust getting in as well. I did notice that they've also, this got announced, is the stacking kit for the mini rack. So if you're really mad, you can spend £500 roughly on 2 racks and put one on top of the other. For a sales rep to take and demonstrate, I'd probably kit them out with a 2 or 3U. In fact, I've built a couple of portable racks. I'd probably buy a couple of proper travel racks that are rugged, that you can put in the back of a car, bounce around, that sort of thing, that are proper racks. Because that sort of rack, if you're lugging that around, taking that in and out of a car, it's not going to last. I think you'll find that although it looks good, you would end up with a very, very scratched, dented, and probably out of shape rack. It's not what I would recommend as a rack. It just doesn't. I mean, the system there, you have to bolt it together. You're just clamping 2 racks together with 4 beams. I think you'll find as well, although it's toolless to slot things in and out of. It's not toolless to assemble, I don't think. It wouldn't be what I would recommend to someone. Unless they wanted it specifically for ubiquity equipment for their home, and they had somewhere that was out the way that it's not going to get knocked, bashed, and generally abused. Have they literally? Yeah, they've. Sorry, I just saw mobile router table stand. Again, the mobile router is a weird thing. A cloud key stand? That's the side thing, yeah. There's the rack mount. I've got one of them. Dust covers, expensive. I'm trying to think. I haven't got one. I need to get one back, and I'm trying to remember the name of the manufacturer that we use. But there are some very good travel rack manufacturers, and that's who I would go with if I wanted to send someone out with kit to demonstrate. But to be honest, there's no point probably doing that, because by the time they've demonstrated it, it will have changed. So but yes, there's a lot of great stuff, but there's also a lot of frustration with Ubiquity. Like the AI Theta, again, the fact that there's no night vision. I mean, that's just such an oversight. That I don't know. I've seen some interesting and good uses for the Theta, but it would have been so much more acceptable to people if it actually had night vision. I think they've stopped. Yeah, the G4 doorbell is gone. I've got one. I've got a brand new original G4 doorbell actually on the shelf. They say the angle mounts for the Theta. Yeah, it's that there just seems to be a little bit of a lack of. Maybe we need. So yeah, there's too many switches. Maybe we need to consider retiring some of the Gen 1s. The fact you can still buy a Gen 1 48 and 24 PoE, maybe it's time to consider retiring these off. And the Pro... Pardon? Hold on. When did that one... Oh, that's the Pro... Oh, that's the PoE version. So they do the non-PoE version. Yeah, sorry. I'm like, what? That's a Pro Max 24 and it looked wrong. I do like the 24 port layout like that. That I do agree on, but I just wish they had the option to have non um, a non ether lighting one. There is a small PTZ that will be out in the Ultra range. They haven't announced it, but well, they have announced it. It was announced when they launched the Ultra concept and the Ultra range over in South America. They did say, yes. Let me just see if I can find it. Sorry. There's an image. Let me just find the image. There we go. Right, that one. So you've got, obviously, there's the Swiss Army knife in the front and center. You have got a new dome cam that will appear at some point, I would presume. You've got this up here, which is a new PTZ that will appear at some point. And over here, you've got a turret camera. And these were all the things they did say they would be doing. So we heard there would be a turret, a dome, and a PTZ. Primarily to compete against, I think, HIC. Because it's the one thing that Ubiquity have always been pulled up on, that they don't do a turret. Their domes have been a bit more expensive. And they don't do a cheap PTZ. So those are coming along. You've obviously got the access, Unify access bit there. And we've got the, what looks like, obviously, the Unify Express unit. But again, I would not be surprised if we see either a smaller Protect device launched, or they reuse the plastic work and make a mini Protect capable device. Maybe they mount a small hard disk internally or an SSD internally, or they just do what they've done elsewhere. They put a memory card in the back, so you have a Protect device that works like a small Dream Machine. The Switch, I think that's just a Flex Mini tucked over there, but again, we don't know. So yes, the fact that you've got you've got 4 new products in there, and potentially 3 older products, or there'll be 3 revised versions. Yeah, we'll see. We shall see. But yeah, that's there's been some other subtle changes going on in the background. If you have a Dream Router, for example, you can now run 3 applications on it as against 2. I tested that out on one of ours the other week. You can now spin up 3 applications on a Dream Router. Always used to be 2. Purely and simply because of the CPU capacity. Now, I wouldn't recommend running 3 on a Dream Router, purely and simply because the CPU capacity is quite low. They're slow enough already. They don't need to be any slower. But yeah, I mean, I am also genuinely amazed. Oh, helps if I spell it with an I in it. That we haven't seen anything similar from these guys yet. Now, TP-Link have obviously launched the Tapo range for CCTV, but they've gone along with I did have them reach out briefly. They've seemed to have gone along with the more home side of things. That I find interesting. It's got color night vision on their doorbell. The reason there's been an uptick in what TP-Link are doing is because they're pushing their partner program. So you will have seen a lot of people sign up to test the kit because they could get the kit cheaper. Um, but again, it's where they're going to go. Obviously, Wi-Fi 7 from the Armada range. That's the range I was after. They've launched their Vigi range. This was what they asked me to have a look at. And I queried them about it because I said I'd only ever review it if I could be honest about it. They're ugly looking cameras, I'll give them that. But again, they've gone down the old fashioned approach of they're a per effectively go into the product. So their NVRs, I don't think their NVRs were out. They wanted me to review a camera and then I queried them about what they were going to record to. So they've gone down the old channel approach. So you've got your 4, 8, 16, 32 channel NVRs. Jason will be watching hopefully this at some point. So hi Jason, if you're rewatching this. Yes. As I've always said, it's like people did seem surprised, very surprised, when the Armada system suddenly appeared on social media. When it had actually been out for many years, it's been around, and it wasn't just the Armada system, it was the whole concept from TP-Link going into the business. So they had the Armada system, but they also had the Pharos system, and they were literally a clone of Ubiquity's kit. So you had the point-to-point images instead of Eros, you had Pharos, and you had Armada instead of Unify. And if you go and look at the old Armada controller, it's so similar to the old Ubiquity controller. And if for anyone who had been using Ubiquity for like 10 years back in the version 1, version 2 controllers, it just was like, yeah, they've just got hold of an old version of the controller and modernized it. So it's why whenever anyone asks me about TP-Link Armada, it's like, would you consider it? I wouldn't, but it's not necessarily a bad product, but it's not as finished as Unify is. I class it as Unify Lite. It's got a lot of the features, but it's completely missing others. Their routers are just not up to scratch. They're kind of in line with where the USGs were a few years ago. And again, they're trying to a certain degree, they're trying to copy the way that Ubiquity have gone with things like the Dream side of things, but at the same time, they're still trying to be TP-Link. So it has to be really, really low budget. Hence why all their stuff looks the same. It's all just square plastic metalwork, and they won't ever do anything really sort of different or crazy with it, because there's that their target audience are the people where Ubiquity or Unify is more expensive. No, I signed up. I'm still waiting for TP-Link to contact me. I spoke with our distributor the other day, asking them about it, because that's who I would be buying my kit from. I will chase up on that, because there are times when, yes, people do say, can you compare it? What do you think of TP-Link Armada, of the current version? And I'm like, I don't know, because I haven't got any current kit to test it with. I know what it looks like, I know what it behaves like, and I know its limitations, but at the same time, I haven't got a use case for it, because I'd never install it at a client at the moment, because it's just not there. It's like if I grab the magical tender. again, this thing's target audience is where TP-Link is too expensive, but this is designed to look and have the aesthetics as if you had Ubiquiti, because they know then that they can sell it to an audience that want to think that they're getting a good quality product and appear to others, oh, maybe they've got a Ubiquiti product, maybe that's who they use. That's why they adopted that look. It's why the smaller unit looks just like a an AC light or a 6 light. And so, yes, it's, as I say, there's a lot that is interesting that TP-Link get up to, and there's certain bits of certain products we do use, but at the same time, there's a lot that they are trying to achieve. They try and do a bit of everything. I mean, why has that switch got 2 USB ports on the top of it? Have I just missed something there? Is that, I'm pretty, yeah. So that's a switch with 2 USB ports. Let's just see if I can find out what on earth that is about. Smart switch? I'm confused. Why is there a switch with USB ports that you can't see anything about? Or is that a product that they haven't done yet? Or has someone from the graphic design department gone mad? I mean, that's got 6 SFP ports on the end. It's a 48 port switch by the looks of it, with 6 S. They haven't got it. I'm not going mad here, but they're showing a switch they don't have. I don't think it's a router. No. So that's a 40. Huh? It's a 48 port switch. God knows. In fact, it's more than a 48 port switch. It's about a 52 port switch. Hey ho. I'm not quite sure what that is. I think the AI's gone mad. But I look at all switches and it's not there. So, hey ho. Not quite sure what's going on there. Rack mounted media converters. Again, interesting. It yeah, it kind of sums up TP-Link to me. They want to portray the image that they can do everything, but when you need them to do everything, it can't do it. And a lot of the time, people are like, oh, well, it didn't cost a lot. And that's the issue. Just going to have a look in their other side of things, but that's products and solutions, and that'll probably take me straight back to a page that doesn't exist. So yes, This kind of sums up the quality I expect from TP-Link. It does the job. It's okay, but don't expect it to be finished. It's just missing bits. That being said, everyone who I've spoke to on the deco side of things, that's the home mesh system, they absolutely love it. So again, it's a system I can't test at the moment because I don't have one. I'd love to. But it does appear that system does work. I'm not seeing. I'm just having a quick scout around. Service provider, ISP tools, anything in there? No. Business solutions by technology. PoE. Let's have a look in there. No. Again, it's very much bamboozle you. But that switch does not exist. But there we go. Right. I am going to wind it up for now. For those of you who are not in the Discord, please feel free to come and join. There are a few things going on over there at the moment with a little mini launch that we're doing in regards to something. But other than that, I will try and do more on here. I have some videos lining up. I nearly had a video ready the other day and it all went wrong at the last minute because what I was trying to test on a Sophos firewall failed miserably due to the firewall, ironically, due to my machines that I was testing on. So I had to build a new machine, and I have another new machine that I will be building for specifically for that role in the future. But yes, other than that, lots of little things going on, and you will probably find me more often than not live on TikTok more than here, just because it's easier. So there we go. Right. I will catch you all later. For those of you who probably see me later on over on TikTok, I will see you there. Thank you all for joining, as ever. Thank you for getting involved, and I will catch you all next time.